This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. The U.S. Coast Guard on Monday said it was probing nearly 350 reports of oil spills in and along the U.S. Gulf of Mexico in the wake of Hurricane Ida. Hurricane Ida's 150-mile-per-hour, 240 km/h winds wreaked havoc on offshore oil production platforms and onshore oil and gas processing plants. About 88% of the region's offshore oil production remains shut and more than 100 platforms unoccupied after the storm made landfall on August 29. The Coast Guard has been conducting flyovers off the coast of Louisiana looking for spills. It is providing information to federal, state and local authorities responsible for cleaning the sites.
Saudi Arabia, the world's top oil exporter, slashed prices of all crude grades to Asian customers in October versus September, but left prices to northwestern Europe and the United States steady. The deep price cuts come as lockdowns across Asia to combat the highly infectious Delta variant of the coronavirus have capped fuel demand in the region. Global oil supplies are also increasing as the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and their allies, a grouping known as OPEC+, is raising output by 400,000 barrels per day a month between August and December. State oil giant Saudi Aramco lowered for the first time in 4 months the official selling price, OSP, of Arab light crude for delivery to Asia in October to a premium of $1.70 per barrel versus the average of DME Oman and Platts Dubai crudes, according to a company pricing document.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Leading shipping associations have proposed creating a global levy on carbon emissions from ships to help speed up the industry's efforts to go greener. With about 90% of world trade transported by sea, global shipping accounts for nearly 3% of the world's CO2 emissions, and the sector is under growing pressure to get cleaner. For the first time, the International Chamber of Shipping, ICS, and Intercargo jointly proposed a levy based on mandatory contributions for each ton of CO2 emitted from ships exceeding 5,000 gross tons and trading globally.
Oil prices steadied on Monday as gains on production outages after Hurricane Ida were tempered by Saudi Arabia's sharp cuts to crude contract prices for Asia, reviving concerns over the demand outlook. Brent crude futures fell 16 cents to $72.45 a barrel by 10:52 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 14:52 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 12 cents to $69.17 a barrel. Both contracts had been down by $1 in earlier trade. State oil group Saudi Aramco notified customers in a statement on Sunday that it will cut October official selling prices, OSPs, for all crude grades sold to Asia, its biggest buying region, by at least $1 a barrel.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Prices for aluminium or bauxite from Guinea hit their highest in almost 18 months in top metals consumer China on Monday as buyers fretted about supply after a coup in the West African country, though no mines reported any disruption. Guinea is the world's second biggest producer of the raw material that is refined into alumina, a substance used to make aluminium metal, and is the top supplier to China. Guinean bauxite for delivery to China was last assessed by Asian Metal at $50.50 a ton, up 1% from Friday and the highest since March 16 last year. Prices are up about 16% this year.
Russia's Rusal said on Monday it aimed to keep its 3 major bauxite mines and 1 alumina refinery in Guinea operating after the military coup there, but could evacuate all Russian personnel if the crisis worsened. Moscow has a long history of relations with Conakry that goes back to trade and economic cooperation during the Soviet era, and is currently focused mainly on the metals business. The coup in the West African nation with the world's largest bauxite reserves, used to produce aluminium, sent prices of the metal to a 10-year high on Monday. There was no immediate indication of any supply disruptions. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Australian farmers are on course to harvest a near-record amount of wheat this season, the country's chief commodity forecaster said on Tuesday, as it lifted its production forecast by more than 17% following recent favorable weather. The Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics and Sciences, ABARES, said it now expects production during the season ending June 30, 2022 to total 32.63 million tons, up from its June estimate of 27.8 million tons. That would make the crop Australia's second largest for wheat, should the estimate materialise. Its record crop came last year when growers produced 33.34 million tons of wheat. Finally, we have the most recent news on the financial market.
Singapore Exchange's new rules for special purpose acquisition companies, SPACs, are likely to help it attract regional funds and fast-growing firms, as it seeks to revitalize a staid market for equity listings, market participants said. Some of them expect Southeast Asian startups, especially from the tech sector, to take advantage of SGX becoming the first Asian bourse to allow SPAC listings since the investment frenzy in SPACs started in the United States last year, although the interest is peaking there. SPACs raise money on stock markets to buy private companies, giving those businesses a quick and cheap route to a listing. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.